Welcome to episode number 10 of the Sub 220 Marathon Project video series. Matt here of Sweat Elite, documenting my journey to the Berlin Marathon taking place in 2 weeks' time from today, where I'll attempt to break 2 hours and 20 minutes for the marathon and documenting absolutely everything that goes into trying to break 220. Huge thank you to those that have tuned in to the previous episodes, and special thanks to those that are using the promotional codes of our two main sponsors of this video series, Soar Running and Top 4 Running. Soar Running are having a little giveaway starting on this episode running through to the marathon, where you'll have to predict my half marathon split in Berlin. Top 4 Running will be doing their own competition, guessing my finish time, but this is going to be a competition focusing around my split. Now, for those that have been paying attention to previous episodes, it was mentioned in one episode and on my Strava what my half marathon split goal is, what the plan is to hit through the halfway. So you could probably do some research and try to figure out what the plan is. But of course, things don't always go exactly to plan on race day, and we might be 20, 30 seconds faster or slower than the time that I want to hit. But by guessing the split, you will win a pair of marathon speed shorts by Soar Running. All you have to do is visit the link in the description of this video to enter the competition, submit your email and the predicted split of the half marathon in Berlin. And if you are closest to the split, or if you get it exactly, you are in the running to win a pair of marathon speed shorts valued at well over $100. They are my favorite running tights that I wear in training, and most likely I'll wear them in the race. Soar have a few really good racing bottoms, which I'm not 100% sure which one I'll wear yet, but I'm definitely recommending these ones. So do enter the competition if you are interested in scoring a pair of those yourself. And before I go into the week, that was the 10th week of the marathon training block, I want to thank the two sponsors of this video series that are bringing it to YouTube for you to view. Soar Running Apparel, my go-to running apparel brand based in the UK. I'm a huge fan of Soar. They are rapidly expanding around the world right now and becoming very popular, even here in the US. Like I've mentioned in previous episodes, I've seen a few people wearing the Soar gear down at the tracks here in Boulder, which is awesome to see. Soar Running make premium running apparel, not only training and racing gear, but also apparel as well that you can wear in the gym or even just casually. You can check out their website to find out more, and also score 15% on your order by using the code in the description of this video. Huge thank you to those that are using that code and that are supporting the production of this video series. Top 4 Running, one of Europe's largest online running retail stores, are the second sponsor of this video series. Top 4 Running have supplied me with all of the shoes I'm training in and that I'll be racing in at the Berlin Marathon. Top 4 Running stock all of the top brands, all of the latest models at the lowest prices, and you can score an even further discount on those already very low prices at Top 4 Running. They have very quick shipping around Europe, and they have more or less everything in stock that you would be interested in, at least from every time I've checked the website in my own size, which is US 10. So please do check out the Top 4 Running website if you need a new pair of trainers or racers, and I'd really appreciate using this promotion code Sweat Elite that you can find. Also the link to Top 4 Running and the promotion code in the description of this video. Huge thank you to Top 4 Running for sponsoring this video series, and please do check out their website if you need a pair of trainers or racers. Okay, on to the 3 favorite questions of the week. Really enjoying this segment. I have such a good time looking at the comments in the YouTube channel. I don't always respond to them all. I sometimes just forget to respond to them because I've got a lot of other things on my plate at the moment in terms of the move to Europe that's actually happening later today. But I will answer these 3 questions that came through last week. Number 1 from David Del Fonte. Can you share some details of your progression in marathon times over the years to eventually get down to 2:20? Yes, so I started running as a result, I started doing marathons as a result of a challenge from a friend who thought that I couldn't break 3 hours for a marathon. So I used to be a middle distance runner between 2006 and 2013. I tried to qualify for the national teams in Australia, Olympic teams and so forth. I never actually qualified for any teams. I came 5th in the Australian Championships over the 800 metres. On a few occasions, but was never in the top 3, or I never even ran the qualifying times, but I was somewhat close. So my friend believed that I was too fast twitch to ever run a marathon under 3 hours. So I ran 2:59 in the first one at the end of 2017 in Finland. And then a year later, I ran 2:43 at the Pisa Marathon. I then ran 2:35 about 9 months later at the Berlin Marathon, 2019. I believe I was in a little bit better shape than that. I had severe muscle cramping at the end of that race and lost about 4 or 5 minutes. Actually completely stopped at the 38k mark because I had such a bad muscle cramp in my hamstring, but I hobbled in for a 2:35. 2.5 months later, I ran 2:27 at Valencia. The cramping was mild that day. 3 months after that, early 2020, I ran 2:24 in Lake Biwa at the sub-elite race that they only take people under 2:30, which is actually no longer operating, no longer running. And then I didn't run a marathon for a while because COVID obviously cancelled most of the marathons, and then I ran 2:20 at Indianapolis in November. I then tried to run at Valencia a month later and DNF'd due to cramping, and DNF'd again in Rotterdam in April due to cramping. Both of them were so severe that I couldn't really even jog. So I figure at that point when you're cramping so badly, it's obvious, and you've got such a long way to go. In Indianapolis, I cramped with 1.5 miles, 2 miles to go, so the end was in sight. But when you're cramping at 26 to 28k, which I was in Rotterdam and Valencia, there's such a long way to go, and you just start to think, am I going to do some damage to myself by running for over an hour, or at least over 45 minutes through these cramps? So I pulled out both times. Okay, run along Paul. Hi Matt, have you included strength work to previous training blocks, and are you seeing any and feeling any benefits? Is this something that you may reflect on when planning next blocks? I have never done consistent strength training. I've been a classic case of just adding in gym once or twice a week whenever I can. Inherently quite lazy I think. And no, to answer the question, I've never done a structured gym program before. Am I feeling any benefits from it now? It's hard to tell. I mean, ultimately the reason why I did this was to see if it would solve the cramping issue. I haven't had any major injuries, although during this week there was one session that I had to cut short with a little hamstring niggle that strangely was more or less gone a day or two later. I'm not even sure what that is, but you'll hear more about that soon in the recap. But no, to answer the question, I have not. If I get through this marathon and don't cramp and run 2:18, 2:19, of course I'm going to feel like continuing to do that. If I cramp very, very late and I run close to a PR, for sure, I would like to include strength training moving forward. We'll see, but ultimately the answer to that question is no, not consistently. Jack Rathborn, what are your views on setting strategy and goals for Berlin, and what have you seen from training races to commit or not to your ideal time pace, i.e. sub 220? Okay. I think what Jack's basically asking there is, how do you know if you're on track to run 220? I revolve everything around threshold pace. So whatever your threshold pace is, which is roughly your between 10k and half marathon pace, whatever pace you should be able to sustain for about 50 to 60 minutes, that should always be roughly around about 4 to 5%, 6% around that faster than your marathon pace. At the moment, I'm noticing my threshold pace to be right around about 308 to 310 here at altitude, which is probably about 305 to 307 at sea level. And I know that that's about 10 seconds per kilometre, 15 to 16 seconds per mile faster than my marathon pace. And provided that you're doing enough long runs and you're able to bank 5 plus 30k 19-mile runs, I think that your neuromuscular strength will be there to sustain the distance. Ideally, at least 2 runs over. This is my philosophy. This is not. There's people that don't really abide by this. Ideally, 2 over 35k, of which I've been able to do as well. But as long as your threshold pace is, at least 3 to 4% faster than your goal marathon pace, and you're doing the long runs, I feel like that's enough of an indicator to know what you can run for a marathon. If your threshold pace currently, the pace that say you've got to work out of 3 by 10 minutes, and the pace that you can sustain at an 85% effort, which is what threshold should be, if you can sustain a 3:30 per kilometre, which I think is about a 5:35 per mile, then your goal marathon pace should probably roughly be about 3:44, 3:45 per k, or 6 minutes per mile. So it's pretty easy to work out. That's how I see it. I'd love to hear in the comments if people see that slightly differently, but that's how I judge it. So I think that I am on track at the moment. I did race a half marathon on the weekend, which I'll talk about very soon, which basically goes against what I just said, but I will talk about the course. But to answer the question, Jack, that's how I would work it out. Now moving on to the week in training. That was the 10th week of the marathon training block. It started on September the 4th on the Sunday with the Washington Rock and Roll Half Marathon. Now, I finished up in second place by about 5 seconds in just over 70 minutes, 1:10:03. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, that's not even under 220 marathon pace. With that said, the course not only was it challenging, I was just very inexperienced on a course such as that. So, You can see some of the footage in the background here. It's basically the Washington Rock and Roll Half Marathon. Basically, there's about 900 feet of elevation gain. My Strava has 800. The course map on the website is a little over 900, so it's almost 300 meters of elevation gain. Now, in the first 9.5 miles, you basically climb around 700 feet, which is about 220 meters, I think. It has a first couple of miles is sort of rolling hills. There's a few little flat parts with a few little downhill parts, but overall it's just a slow grind up this 9.5 mile hill. And then the reason why this course I thought was really quite slow is because you want to try and balance the uphills with the downhills and make use of the downhills so that the time somewhat evens out. Now, the time never really evens out on a hilly course, but almost the entire elevation loss in this course was over like a 3/4 of a mile period, just over 1K, at around the 10-mile mark. And it was such a steep downhill jump, running downhill at around the 10-mile mark, that I was really unable to make use of that downhill because my quads were pretty sore at that point because I'd obviously been climbing for about 10 miles, and I was having a hard time with my footing going down the hill, so I didn't even split a very fast K or mile down there. I think it was about 3:07 per K, which is about 5 minutes. Now, you'd expect that going down a hill that steep, you'd be able to run 4:40 or 4:35, but the percentage of decline was so extreme, and I'm so inexperienced on hills that I wasn't really able to make use of that. And then the final 2.5 miles was another gradual uphill climb. So it was a slow course. I mean, but multiplied by the fact that I'm inexperienced on hills. I don't really train on hills too much right now, at least nothing like that. Berlin is dead flat, so I don't really need to prepare for a hilly marathon, but yeah, I think all in all, I did think, looking at the course map beforehand, I'd like to run 109. I thought 108 high at absolute best would be a good run. And I thought that would probably equate to an effort of around a 106. Who really knows? Humidity was pretty high. It was about 91%. I did find myself sweating and losing a lot of fluid pretty early on because I am obviously a very heavy sweater, as I mentioned before. But yeah, the temperature was pretty reasonable. I think it was about 56 or 57 Fahrenheit, about 14, 15 Celsius. But yeah, the course was tough for me. The guy that just beat me by 5 seconds ran at 106 low a month earlier, and he said it was about the same effort. If I can take anything away from it positively, I think that was it when I talked to him afterwards. But yeah, I think that was a decent hit out. It would have been lovely to have a 109 there, but all in all, I'm very glad I did it. And it's worth pointing out too that there was no other options for us to do a race here in the US in the final few weeks. There was the USA 20K champs on the East Coast, but I combined this particular trip with visiting a very close friend of mine in Seattle. So yeah, there wasn't too many options in the summer here in terms of road races. That afternoon, I did a 5-mile easy jog at 8:04 per mile with Craig, my friend. Felt great, didn't feel too tired at all. The following morning, I did a 4-mile run at 7:13 per mile. In the afternoon, an 8.38 run at 7:24 per mile. And then on the Tuesday, I planned, after the race, I spoke to Rick, on Sunday afternoon. He suggested, because I felt generally quite fatigued from the last few weeks of pretty high volume, he said to take 4 easy days through to Friday. So I did. I did a sort of a medium effort run on the Tuesday, 12.45 miles at 6:34 per mile. And then I was back in Boulder on the Wednesday, did 11.68 mile run at 7:42. And then on Thursday morning, I filmed Flora Duffy, not part of the training plan, but do check that video out once it comes out. It should be out in the next few days, or it may already be out by the time I put this video out. And then on the Thursday after that, I did a 10-mile run at 6:50 pace, and I finally started to feel a little bit better. Best I've felt in weeks, I put on Strava. On the Friday, it was an interesting workout. It was supposed to be 6 by a mile, where the plan was supposed to be the first mile was sort of a warm-up hard effort. It's supposed to be a marathon effort. I ran a bit quicker than that, 5:05. My marathon pace is about 5:18. And then it was supposed to be the second, 4th, 5th, and 6th reps about threshold effort, or a little bit quicker. So just sort of 4:55 to 5 for me. And then the third one was meant to be a fast one. Rick prescribed the paces to be around 4:55 to 5 for the second, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and the third one was supposed to be in 4:40. Now I went 5:05, 4:48, 4:36, And at the very end of the 4:36, I felt a really minor twinge in my hamstring. Now at this point in time, when I'm probably at my fittest and I probably isn't much more to gain at this point, I just thought I'd be very careful. I wasn't sure what it was to begin with, and then I started the 4th mile. We've got video footage of this coming up soon, too, at the end of this episode. It was actually a bit of a case of the camera was on me, so I thought it wouldn't be a good idea to pull the pin unless this gets really sore. And in the middle of that mile, I kept thinking to myself, should I stop here or should I not? This is the 4th one when I ultimately ran 5:03. But in the last lap of that one, I probably should have dropped out before the last lap. It just didn't feel good, and I sort of not jogged, but ran in for a 5:03 and immediately realised I had to stop the session. Strangely though, the next day when I jogged, I felt pretty much fine. I could feel it a little bit, but I did 2 runs the following day. But back to the workout, that was supposed to be 2 more in around 4:55 to 5, and that 4th one was supposed to be in that pace, but I was sort of being careful with the hamstring towards the end there. A bit of a strange workout, that one, because I went home thinking, is this me done? Is my campaign over? Am I going to have to take 5-7 days off here? Or, because sometimes when you feel a little pain like that, they persist for weeks or months or sometimes even years in Achilles pains, which I've had before. But I have had this same thing in my hamstring before, which has gone away in a couple of days. So hopefully that's the case. On the Saturday, I did a 7-mile run in the morning to test the hamstring at 7:09 pace and felt fine. And in the evening, I filmed Sam Long in a brick session in the middle of the day. Do check that out once it comes out. I had a really good time with Sam. And in the afternoon, a 5-mile run with Lauren and Christina at 7:48 pace. So a total of it was 87 miles for the week, which is about 144, I think, or something like that, maybe 138. Solid week all in all. Finally started to feel a little bit better. Unfortunately, that workout on Friday had to be cut short, but otherwise I think the week went very, very well. Only really 2 weeks to go now until Berlin, and I think ultimately the block has gone 95% to plan, maybe even more, maybe even 98%. And now I'm really excited for what's ahead in the last few weeks, of which I will join the Best Athletics training camp next week. I'm leaving tonight to Spain for 9 days. Best Athletics is the coaching company affiliated with Sweat Elite. Quite a few of you actually have signed up to the coaching. Greatly appreciated. Those of you that are interested in coaching, please check the link in the description of this video. We'll be doing a training camp in Alicante, a yearly, it's an annual thing. Most of the people coming are training for London Marathon, and then I'll head to Berlin on Wednesday the 24th.
Okay, I think you've got down 5:12 for the first.
Jog the first one.
Yeah, and then 5.
Yep.
And then the third one a little quicker. I think
Yep.
around 4:45, 4:50.
Yep.
Exactly. And then we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shouldn't be a problem the way you've been running.
No, should be fine.
Get through that. Basically, we're looking for some turnover.
Yep.
Okay. That should translate up to your race.
Yeah.
So we got, what are we, 2 weeks out right now?
2 weeks and 2 days, yeah.
2 weeks, 2 days.
Yeah.
Today is Friday, you're running Sunday.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, well,
It's all right, Ed. You would have been disappointed.
warmed up,
So the other
got some
thing,
gel.
yeah, the thing I'm going to practice today is taking in a lot of, so I'm going to take 2 gels.
Yep.
One just before I start and then one probably after the third. So this is just purely gut training.
Okay.
I've got a
That's pretty hard to do.
bottle full of Morton, so I'm going to take as much of this as possible, just so that I'm training my gut to take in all the carbs I need in the marathon.
All right.
Because I haven't probably been doing this as much as I would have liked in the long runs, just because
Yeah, that's like almost.
I've been away for one of them. Well, the half marathon, I obviously couldn't practice that. But yeah, I think taking in, I haven't done enough gut training in my opinion, to practice the carbs that I want to take in the race. So, what do you think about doing that today?
Yeah, no, do the best.
Yeah.
Make the best of the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, sure.
And as far as the
Oh, it's like,
rehearsals are
oh,
concerned.
because it's kind of like.
And, so yeah, absolutely set that up.
The other thing I'm going to do is, because I'm not 100% sure what shoes I'm going to wear, I'm going to do the first 2 in the Adios Pro 3.
Okay.
And then I'll switch to the Alpha Fly. I'm fairly strong going to go with the Alpha Fly, but I'm
Okay.
just going to switch between them.
What did you run your last race in?
The Adios Pro 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why you
I
guys-
mainly did that because I wanted to save these are pretty much brand new, and
Yeah.
I wanted to wear them almost brand new in the race.
okay.
But I think just practicing in them a little bit more would be a good idea too. So
All right.
that's the plan for today.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. You got the program down.
Yeah.
So,
you
yeah,
said we're going to start and finish
we'll
over
be
there?
up there.
I don't know if
I'm going to practice, as mentioned before with Rick, taking I don't have a preference of gels, honestly. I'm going to take a goo one now, and then a honey stinger one, and there's no reason for me switching 2 brands. It's just all I had in my room. After probably the 3rd one, and this is just purely to practice, because in a marathon I'm going to take a gel probably every half an hour, and then a carbohydrate drink in between those times as well, depending on where the aid stations are. I'm fairly sure they're at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So I realised this the other day, I haven't really done a lot of practicing of taking in this amount of carbs. So I'm training my stomach today to be able to process these carbs. Probably not the most ideal workout to do it, honestly, in 5 by a mile. I'm probably better off doing it in the long run, and I will do it again on Sunday, provided Rick can be out there in his car. I think we're going to talk about that afterwards. But yeah, so I'm basically going to take in as much carbohydrate as I possibly can in this run, even though it's not really required in 5 by a mile. I can get through the whole workout without it. Anyone can. So yeah, let's see how we go. I've got a full bottle of Morton. I'm going to probably take in 100 to 150 mils between each rep and really practice consuming those carbs. So let's get started. First one's supposed to be around 5:10, 5:12, and then work down from there.
Got a great day here. Great day for training. He's all amped up, ready to run. Looks good though. Looks easy. I mean, the last few workouts, the last few weeks, he's made everything look easy. I don't know how he's feeling internally, but I think he's, from an external point of view, looks great.
So it's been a good build-up for Matt?
Well, it's been a build-up where I've been able to watch him most of the time, and he's been here in Boulder, so I think those are all positives. It's hard, these build-ups, there's so many variables. It's hard to make them. This one's been a good one, though. This has been a really good one. I have a couple women around here someplace getting ready to run, but they've got a long build-up. They've got like 14 weeks, so they're having a rough day today, no problem.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I said go home. Just go home.
Yeah.
Take the day off. So they're off the hook today. So, but no, he's been doing great.
I heard you talking about discipline is going to be important for Matt. Is there anything else you think is going to be especially important for Matt as he tries to hit sub 220?
Yeah, so the pacing is going to be the key thing, because if you pace correctly, everything else seems to fall into place. The other thing is hydration and nutrition. So he's going to practice that today a little bit too. But I think he's going to be okay because he's had enough practice at the long runs, hard long runs up here, where that would translate to sea level. So what I tell people is effort at altitude equates to performance at sea level. The numbers don't always exactly match up, but if you're out there running hard at altitude, it translates to performance at sea level. So there's a correlation, but you can't expect to run as fast at altitude as you would at sea level. So I always focus on the last third-ish of the long runs, which I want to go at race pace or faster if possible. The build-up at altitude is just an easy, gradual build-up in thirds. The first third is kind of an easy run, middle third is tempo, the last third is race pace or faster. So he's been able to do that on multiple long runs, and I think that's going to translate.
Yep.
Had a great effort last week in Seattle on a tough course, but I equate that course almost to an altitude course because of the hills, and the conditions weren't perfect. So I'm just going to assume that he can run the 110 pace through halfway point, and he'll be able to maintain through the second half. So that's the approach there on this guy.
Sounds like you got Rick's vote of confidence, Matt.
Yeah. Matt's done everything he can, and he's been consistent, which is it's hard to do. But it's better if you're in the same spot for some extended period of time.
Yes.
And the last build-up, he was at different places, and that's hard.
Yeah.
Different training partners. This time he's had the benefit. He's training with Nell. He's training with the group. He's had consistent, living space for the last couple of months, so that's worked out great.
Yeah.
All the above. And for marathon training, the more of the components you can control, the more the variables you can control, the better off you're going to be.
Sure.
The fewer you control, you got to manage those things, and you don't want to spend too much energy trying to go out, figure stuff out. So, that's kind of my approach to marathon training. So,
let's go. Number
ready
2.
to go? Number 2.
Yeah.
Here we go.
We'll try and hit
All right.
right around 5.
But I hope that Matt continues his marathon career because he could run a good one. He still has a lot of run in his legs, and his improvement window is in the future, a few years in the future. So, because he hasn't really properly trained for a marathon, and he could run a faster one. Let's say he runs 2:19:19. He could probably run in 2:17:18 range. 6, 7, 8, 49.
Still good?
But you weren't trying. It wasn't like you were stressing to go that fast.
No, it's fine.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So this next one, you're in trouble now. You're in trouble now because I want you to go fast. Just run as fast as you feel comfortable running.
Okay.
Okay. You make the decision.
Okay.
So take your recovery. A couple of hundredths. Yeah. Last time we had a 6-minute recovery in there. 6-minute gap between the two.
Okay.
It'll be another 6 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Make the switch to the Alpha Fly, which I'm fairly sure I'm going to go with in Berlin, but I don't know, I just wanted to have a workout where I can really clearly distinguish between the two in terms of feeling. I'm having a bit of a hard time deciding, honestly. I never would have thought the Adidas Pro 3 would be, I'd be favouring them so much, but yeah, it's hard to go past the Alpha Flies in my opinion. These are the ones though, the Alpha Fly ones. I haven't tried the 2s yet. I've heard mixed things about them. But, yeah. It's the first time I will be wearing these, so brand new. 3, 2.
Relax. Okay, man. That's good. Stay with this pace. 7, 8, 9. 6, 7. Nice recovery. Now take a nice recovery, as much time as you want.
Okay.
And then run how you feel the last 2 miles. All right? Run how you feel.
I think I'm going to drop it back to 450, 455.
You got a baseline.
That was good, but it felt,
Yep.
it was a little forced.
Yeah.
In my opinion, especially in the last lap.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, yeah.
There's some work involved there, and you can do that work right now
Yeah.
on top of all your mileage.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. And just come on back and run how you feel the next couple of miles.
Yep.
All right. Good recovery. Maybe take 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
Finish up. There we go. 5 flat. 502. Take a nice recovery, man. Nice work. You're ahead of your numbers no matter how you cut it.
I'm thinking about cutting the last one because
Yeah.
I've got a really mild hamstring niggle that I noticed at the end of the second rep.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what it is, but it's pretty mild, and through that one, every 200 I felt like I should probably stop.
Okay.
I just got to the end because it was okay.
All right. So here's the decision.
What do you think?
Process. Yeah. My recommendation is
I'd-
just to blow the last one off,
Okay.
or just jog at maybe a 6-minute pace
Okay.
to get the volume in,
Yep.
and then get some work on that today.
Yeah.
Get some work on it.
I did max deadlifts on Wednesday with Keith,
Okay.
and the last time I did that my hamstrings and glutes were a little bit tight for a few days. And I just, the very end of the second one, then I noticed it, and the third one,
Yeah.
it's not getting any worse, but I can definitely feel it there. So
and that's what caused you to run the 5-minute mile, because you were tentative.
yeah.
So here's what I want you to do. I want you just to blow this last one off, cool down.
Okay.
Cool down.
Yeah.
We're going to consolidate our
I think that's a
gains.
good call. I think that's a good call.
Not take any risk. Okay?
No, there's no point in taking risks.
Yeah. Get some work on it today.
Yeah, I will.
So you can find somebody to work on that for you.
Yeah, I've got plenty to have massage
Okay,
today.
sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Let's do that. That was a good workout. Good workout. Nice fast mile in there.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, same thing I told Luis is, and he ended up running a 4:17 mile,
Yep.
which he hadn't been in that space in a long time. But at altitude, that's going to translate to a fast 10K for him.
Yeah.
But really, he would want to run 4:12 at altitude, and that would get him solidly in the mid 28s for, you know. But the same thing for the marathon, fast mile in there, 4:30 range,
Yep.
would translate up to a faster marathon.
Okay.
So, okay, good. Yeah, take care of that.
Yeah, I will.
All right. Yeah, I take a good cool down though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where I could run another one. 4:45, 4:50, but at this point, there's just, like Rick said, there's no point in taking any risks. I don't know what it is. It's very mild. It's like a 1 out of 10 pain. But just then, I tried to pick up the pace in the third lap, like Rick said, to get down to 72s, and it just didn't feel good doing that slight surge. And I thought to myself, every like 100 or 200 meters, like, I think I should probably stop here. I just went through to the end, and I think it's definitely the right call to pull it up to 4 by mile. Good little workout. Not much more to gain at this point, but hoping it's going to be okay tomorrow. Often that is just the case. It's just a one-day thing. Like I said last week, it was on the previous video, I did max squats, deadlift, sorry. And for 2 or 3 days, my glutes and hamstrings were pretty wrecked, and I did the same thing on Wednesday 2 days ago. So it's probably just as a result of the gym. Nothing to worry about. Just got to be really careful these next few days just to make sure it doesn't get any worse. As Canova once said, the amount of times he's seen people, Renato Canova, world famous coach, he said to me and a bunch of people before, oftentimes he sees people get a little pain, a little niggle, they take 2 or 3 easy days and it's completely fine. But quite often he's also seen people push through that pain for the next few days and they need to take 3 or 4 weeks off. And my marathon's in 2.5 weeks, so I can't afford to do that right now. No one can afford to do that when they've got a race coming up. So decision made, cut it to 4 by mile, happy with that. Get into the cool down, and hopefully I can hit the long run on Sunday without any pain, so we'll see. Thanks so much for watching. 2 more weeks to go. I'm excited. Hope everyone else is doing Berlin Marathon's excited as well, and looking forward to seeing some of you there.